Ed Worley, John Emmett, Gordon Smith, and a bunch of others already are on here. Welcome to the show. We're live again from the Studio B at the Beach Street Yacht Club, where it rained this morning and then the sun has come out, but it's going to rain some more. It's a crummy day as we get this one through the starting line. Welcome. Steve Groover in Connecticut. Rick Bannerow. Almost pre-spring in southwestern Connecticut, so there's a couple there. Gordon Smith saying good evening. I think we mentioned him in Denmark. Joe Holtzman in snowy Colorado, Estes Park on the east side of the mountains. And Emmett's happy with the temporary UK time slot because we're only now 7 hours different to the UK until they go out daylight time in due course. Speaking of which, let's go to the daylight slide here. Just a reminder for those watching, obviously those of you watching live know that we started at 1 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time. But on Sunday, we sprang forward. Those of you watching in replay, just a reminder that we now are starting the show for the next, 7 months at 1300 Pacific Daylight Time. Now, Julia, I had to go look to see if sprang was really a word.
Yes.
What do you think?
I thought so.
What's it mean?
Sprung. I mean, spring, sprung.
Well, look at this. Look at your slides. You know what that is? I'm not kidding.
It's a sprang.
That's a sprang. Sprang is the style of the weaving. Now, it's also a Dutch village, but we're not going to talk about the Dutch village of sprang. Sprang is an ancient method of constructing fabric that has I'd never heard of this before.
We learn something every day.
I went online to check to be sure that sprang was the past tense of spring, sprung, sprang. That has a natural elasticity. Its appearance is similar to netting, but unlike netting, sprang is constructed entirely from warp threads. Archaeological evidence indicates that sprang predates knitting. The two needlework forms bear a visible resemblance and serve similar functions, but require different production techniques. It's done on what do you call it?
Loom.
A loom like that. The English word sprang is not the past tense, but what we're talking about now, Swedish origin. It may have spread southward toward the Med during the Iron Age or possibly the Late Bronze Age. Just what you wanted to know. Yes. The earliest surviving example of sprang is a hairnet circa 1400 BC that was recovered from a bog right next door to you, Gordon Smith in Denmark. Most archaeological finds of sprang fabric came from the later classical era and the start of the early medieval period. Locations include Norway, Switzerland, Egypt, 2nd century dynasty, that is dynasty in Egypt, also early Coptic. Oh, who cares? Julia, who cares? Where do I come up with this stuff?
It's interesting.
Well, I never heard of sprang as this technique, and apparently it's still around for making stretchy fabric. Okay.
Come in handy someday.
Enough of all that? Enough, Julia?
Yes.
Okay, we carry on. I'm your host, Tom Eamon. Of course, Julia Vatican is here. She is the Commodore of the St. Francis, of the Beach Street Yacht Club, a member of the St. Francis Yacht Club, my landlady and dear friend. And with that, I'll get rid of the lower third and we'll press on here and pass over Sprangs. We won't pass over. We already passed Passover, but just a reminder again to those of you watching in replay, we are now live, at least for the next few weeks until Europe goes on daylight time. Then it's back to the normal +8 to England and +9 to the continent hours. But right now it is 2000 UTC, 2000 UTC, 2100 CET, 0900 in Auckland for the next until they go off daylight time in a few weeks, and then 0700 in Sydney. until they go off daylight time. It's confusing. We should lock, have I said this before, Julia? We should lock the clock.
No, but I'm sure we'll hear it again.
You will lock the clock. We're now live at 1300 Pacific daylight time going forward. Let's get into some sailing stuff. Bravo Zulu to the winners of the 49er and the 49er FX Worlds, which were held in Lanzarote. We've been talking about that on the show. And the terrific event that they had in this island venue, this beautiful, fantastic island venue of Lanzarote and the Canary Islands. They had their Worlds there the 4th through the 10th of March with a bunch of teams, a bunch of boats, fully 256 athletes, 128 boats, 76 49er teams. That's the men's skiff, and 52 FX teams, the women's Olympic skiff, as we discussed on last Friday and even the previous Tuesday. They had, as I said, a terrific, highly competitive event. I don't think they lost a day due to too much wind or not enough wind. And France, for the first time, has claimed the 49er world title, and the Dutch have reclaimed the FX crown, the women. Irvan, is it Irwan or Irvan Fischer? And in French, Julia, how would you pronounce that?
I would use the W.
Irwan?
Yeah.
And Clement, Pekin won France's first ever 49er world title on the final day of the 49er and the 49er FX World Championships in Lanzarote. Odile van Aanholt, the daughter of Cor van Aanholt, against whom I used to race in Sunfish. Great guy, great sailor from the Netherlands. And then I think last I knew was living in the Netherlands Antilles, but maybe he's back in Holland. And Odile's crew, Annette Deutz, from Netherlands, obviously, reclaimed the 49er FX World title that they'd held a couple of years ago for the Netherlands. So start with the ladies. The Dutch team of Van Aanholt and Deutz had a chance to wrap up the world title in the last Gold Fleet race before they got to the medal race, held in the morning on Sunday. However, things didn't go quite to plan, as they could only manage 17th.
My gosh, the worst result.
Yeah, exactly their worst result of the championship. The Swedes still had a shot at taking gold for the second year running, so the Swedes were in the hunt as well. So they went into that afternoon medal race in the FX. This is the women. The Dutch took the upper hand over their Swedish training partners, and then Van Aanholt and Deutz swept across the finish line to claim back the world title they last held in Canada 2 years earlier. And here is the video.
But about to cross the line to take the 2024 world title in the 49er FX. It's a big hug between Odile van Aanholt and Annette Deutz, winning the world championship. Annette Deutz is 4th, Odile van Aanholt is 3rd, and it's the world title back to them.
How are you feeling, and what do you want to say to the live feed?
Yeah, thanks so much everyone for watching. It was an amazing week, and we're just really happy, and it feels like a comeback after last year, and we're super proud of this week of sailing, and we cannot wait for the Olympics.
Nice video. And congrats also to the Swedes. They're in the hunt, obviously, for the Olympic medals, as well as John Emmett likes to say, and he'll say again in his video today, those that are finishing now in their world championships on the podium are likely, right, to be on the podium at the Olympics. So let's carry on here. This is Vilma Bobeck and Rebecca Netzler. They hadn't been able to hold on to their world crown. The Swedes sailed a supreme week to claim silver. Italy's, is it Jana Germani and Giorgia Bertuzzi took the bronze ahead of reigning Olympic champions Martina Grael and Kahina Kunze from Brazil. So those names will be familiar to most of you.
The Grails.
The Grails. Julie, you're a big fan of the Grails.
I am.
You have a crush still on Torben Grael and his brother?
Of course.
You do.
Of course.
You like the Brits. You like the Aussies.
Tall, handsome.
You like the Brazilians.
Yep.
You like the Kiwis. Do you like any American men? So your husband wasn't even American. He was a German.
That's correct.
Your late husband, Conrad, he was a cool dude, that guy. Let's get to the men. Speaking of men.
He was.
Julia, her legs will get stiff here. No such problems for Mr. Fisher and Mr. Pekin in the men's 49er, who high-fived and hugged as they crossed the finish line of the Gold Fleet race in first place. This guy, the crew, they call him the Man Mountain. He's a huge guy. They had won the regatta on the wire, on the trapeze, obviously. They had won the regatta with a race to spare and became the first ever French team to win the 49er World Championship. And here is that video.
One last jibe. Look at the footwork there. Perfect footwork. They look nicely. Oh, maybe a little early there. Batten's not quite popped. Oh, there we go. They look good on lay line. Here we go. As they come down towards the finish, just 50 meters now stands between this French crew and their first world title. Here we go. On board, Erwin Fischer. The arm goes up in celebration beforehand. Allez les Bleus! Allez les France! World Championship!
Congratulations, Erwin Fischer, Clement Pecan. They can barely believe it. The Man Mountain puts his hands on his head in disbelief, and the big hug of French joy. They have absolutely dominated the fleet this week, and to win the final Gold Fleet race, what a stylish way to see out this world title. The first ever time that the French have taken the World Championship in 25 years of trying.
That's great.
The stylish way.
Yes.
Great way of putting it.
Oh, crazy.
Here are the runners-up with the 49er title already claimed by France. Attention in the men's medal race turned to a three-way battle for silver between the Netherlands, Great Britain, which was a surprise, and Spain. Now, I'll back that up. You see the pennies, as they call the pullovers. Here in the U.S., we call the pennies. What do you call them in Europe? John, Emmett, the others, do you call them pennies as well? But the vest or the pullovers. And Bannero's asking, do the numbers on the pennies, but they're pennies, I think, indicate their position in the regatta at the start of each day? Yes, indeed, they do. And it used to just be the various colors, gold, silver, and bronze-ish. Mm-hmm. But they put a number on there to make it easier for non-Olympian aficionados, the Olympics. So that's good. 1, 2, 3. Yes, it does indeed. And same now in the bullet ball on the sails that used to be gold, silver, and bronze, so you could tell who was in the medal positions during the last races, and in fact maybe during the entire regatta. And they now put a black number in the middle of that too, or a white number, but I think black normally. So yeah, it makes sense. But these guys had a hell of a race. The Swedes, the Dutch, the Brits, and the Spanish for second place. And after disappointed to have lost the chance to claim a fourth consecutive world title, that is the Dutch guys of Bart and Floris. Van der Werken is Floris's last name. How do you say that? Lambrou?
Yeah.
I don't know. Sorry. But Bart and Floris made a determined start to the race and seized control of the silver medal all the way to the finish. That was in the medal race. Spain's Diego Botín, who you will know from Sail GP, and Florian Trittle, also from Sail GP, did enough to win bronze ahead of the surprise package of the regatta, Britain's James Grummet and Rose Hawes, who finished a very impressive fourth overall, Julia.
Boy, they talk about being competitive. That's
good fleet. It's going to be tough. So there you are, Julia, the podium. Now here there's some Kleenex there behind you. You want to lick your lips and over these gentlemen.
No.
On the podium for the 49er World's Bravo Zulu to the Mall. Hell of an event and a great place to sail, as we've been saying. Let's see what the comments are. Prince Mueller checking in from Miami. We're going to have a good report on the Bacardi Cup later in today's show. Featured, actually, in today's show. Ted Ryman in Cape Town. Emmett is saying the Dutch 49ers were also very good. Yes, indeed. They've been tough in that class. That country has. You've never mentioned it, John Emmett. He's talking about me going on about locking the clock, daylight time. I'm going from the bottom up, obviously. Clark Chapin feels that old song, old meaning what, in the early 70s, mid 70s? Does anybody really know what time it is? Julia, do you know who did that song?
Chicago.
Well done. Well done.
Every once in a while.
Well, it was part of your rock and roll era, right?
And yeah, it was great music.
Is she single? I wonder who he's, Rick Banner replying, is she single? I don't know who they're talking about. We have some lovely finds from the box. My favorite is a preserved dead lady who currently lies in a box in the church.
Right.
Is she single? Oh, goodness. Okay, so much for the podium, so much for the 49er and the FX Worlds, as they say. Bravo, Zulu to New York.
That was a great regatta.
It was. Julia, what are we celebrating today?
Oh my goodness, I don't know.
There's a clue there below that lower third. Handcuffs and a keyboard.
Yeah.
Who's Pasión de Vela? Passion for sailing. Thanks for sharing such valuable information. Your knowledge and support are crucial to our continued growth and success in this fascinating world. Thank you for your dedication and commitment. How nice.
How nice.
Whoever that is, thank you very much. Jody Shields, can I find that song on TikTok? Well, we're not sure TikTok's going to be available here in the U.S. much longer, although I'm pretty sure, Julie, that's not going to.
Oh, just today in the paper, I think.
Well, they have a congressional hearing tomorrow, and there's a lot of pressure to ban TikTok because it's Chinese and they're stealing information.
And they are. Never mind. But
how are you ever going to ban it? Speaking of which, that's apropos today's celebration. Today, FBI was founded. Fritz Mueller's asking. Rick Banner, the first cybercrime. Close. Now you're getting close. We're celebrating today World Day Against Sailing Illustrated Censorship. Against cyber censorship. This is an annual holiday. It's been around for a while. Yeah, Ed Worley's saying it's politicians posturing against TikTok. Mm-hmm. I had never heard of this holiday and probably never will again, but World Day Against Cyber Censorship is observed on March 12th. Cyber censorship blocks or limits access, communication, and access to certain information on the internet. Governments claim to do this for security purposes and fake news. But it's often a means of suppressing dissent by censoring and denying citizens their right to free speech, association, and mobilization, which, seriously, Julia, which you and I are strongly in support of. And I think that the consumer should be able to discern between fake news and real news and like that. I was going to put it in. I didn't. I was going to put in the picture of the princess Catherine.
Yeah.
With her kids. Apparently, she's had surgery. She probably doesn't look 100%. So somebody photoshopped that picture of her with her kids for Mother's Day in the UK, which was last Sunday.
The only thing they changed was the sweater.
Well, there was apparently, it may be that it's an old picture of her because there were leaves on the tree, for example, in the background. Not this time of year in the UK.
Yeah.
And they may have taken an old picture and put her face in. Or something, but I
empathized with her when she said we've all tried to do our own.
Well, yeah, I mean, any photoshopping I do comes out cretonic, but I wouldn't try to pass off a photo.
Yeah, no.
And say, hey, this is a photo of you and I, or me and Meg and myself. I sound like a millennial. Me and Meg, like Meg and myself, or whomever that was taken on Sunday.
Yeah.
And pass it off after photoshopping it because I looked like a crouton on Sunday, so I took a picture of my face from earlier days.
Yeah.
Anyway, and it's with AI and the power of AI, it's pretty amazing.
Oh, it is.
We're going to have an AI expert on this show to talk about AI and maybe some of the implications.
Yeah. The more you read, the more both interesting and scary it gets.
Exactly. So anyway, back to what day it is today, the World Day Against Cyber Censorship. We got to have open internet, in my opinion. The internet is a powerful tool for reporting, awareness, and activism. It spreads information quickly and connects millions of people worldwide at the push of a button. You all know that. That's how this show exists. We must protect freedom on the internet. Now, who do you think puts this holiday up? Who's sponsor? You think the United Nations does this? No way. You think the U.S. government does this? No way.
No.
It started with a group called Reporters Without Borders.
Oh, that's a nice name.
Yeah, for press freedom. It's a French-based group, and they've been around for a while. Here is their cause célèbre, their raison d'etre, and they do publish, this is last year, 2023's map of what they call their Press Freedom Index. The dark blues are good, Greenland anyway, and the Scandinavian countries, and one or two others. Then the light blue are satisfactory, including most of us, the U.S., Western Europe, Australia, New Zealand. Ted Ryman down in South Africa, Don't Cry for Me, Argentina, there, are satisfactory. Then you get to the problematics and the difficults, and Saudi Arabia and others who are in the dark, brownish red? Very serious. Very serious indeed. So that is this group, Reporters Without Borders.
It actually is why I chose journalism as a career.
But you never, until now, until your fourth career, you really never practiced journalism.
I did. I wrote for newspapers and magazines for 12 years.
Oh, you did? I didn't realize that. I thought you were an executive with the Volunteer National.
But as a student.
Oh, as a student.
Yeah.
But you're not a journalist till now.
I have a degree in it.
Yeah, I know, but now you're a practicing journalist.
Oh,
to the extent you can call us journalists.
I really was before.
A couple of bloody talk show hosts, cretins that we are. Anyway, whatever this day is, this World Cyber, Day.
No, I really do believe in the power of a free press, and it only gets complicated when people are misusing it.
Well, and just, right now, our government, and I'm sure many, many others, just ask John and Lily what goes on with them when Lily's in China and they're trying to communicate.
Oh, did you see that short on Lily?
Yes, it's coming. I've got that in the show.
Oh, it's
and
wonderful.
A few others. It is terrific. But the point is that, you say here, and if you start to say, what's the word I want? You're saying things that are way more than croutonic. Insurrectional, is that a word?
Yeah.
Not sure it's a word. I have to, like Sprang, we'd have to go look that up. You start saying things,
yeah,
and they have big ears that are listening to everything you say on the internet, everything you write, and you start saying far left things or far right things, they're going to pick you up and maybe even come knock on your door or more.
Yes.
Drain your bank account.
Ooh,
in some cases.
Easy.
They did in Canada. You'd think of all places in Canada they wouldn't do something. Okay, we've digressed, but we're for freedom of press, freedom of expression. And if you can't do things smart, if you start photoshopping pictures and tell people that it was live on Sunday when it wasn't, oh dear. Okay, completely accurate. Jody Shields. What about Antarctica? Yeah, I don't know, Rick Banner. Good question. Is that the flat Earth map? Good question, Jody Shields. It is a flat Earth map. Enough. Also, to those of you who are celebrating it, last night was the start of Ramadan, and we wish all of you a very happy period in that faith. We also want to thank those of you who have faith in us, talk show hosts or otherwise, who give us $1 or $2 or $5 a month via Patreon or otherwise. Some people just send us a check. Some people, Julia, send us booze.
Yes.
Huh? Like Clayton Embley. I mean, we have some great
bourbon, but I haven't tasted it yet.
Yes, you have.
Oh, I did once.
Yes, you have. We had a dinner here Saturday night.
Yeah, the bourbon.
And I sent a note. I think I copied you. I sent a note to Clayton Embley, our Kentucky bourbon expert and purveyor, and told him that you had partaken in his Kentucky bourbon as a bourbon cream, as an after-dinner drink, as a digestif.
Yes, it was good.
It's like Bailey's Irish cream, only, I mean, at least as good. I had a sip. Now that I'm not drinking alcohol, I still have to sip from time to time.
And always have an opinion.
So we appreciate all the support we get, whether it's via Patreon or via booze shipments or a meal or two that get sent to us from time to time. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. Become a patron and give us a little hand here to keep us on the air. Also keeping us on the air are people like our super Fozy John Emmett, who gives us a report, as you know, for each show. He's given us another terrific one today, where Winter has returned to Weymouth for the Coach's Corner. He recorded it, I guess, this morning before going sailing.
Wow.
And I looked at it, and it made me cold, which is why I'm wearing a jumper, as the Brits would say, a pullover, a sweater today, because I just have been cold ever since I saw John's report. Roll tape.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the Fozy. You can probably tell my get-up. Feels like winter's here in the Weymouth Boat Park. Had another fantastic weekend sailing here. Although it does seem this time of year it's often too much or too little. Today, it's going to be another 20 knot plus day. We've had 2 qualifiers so far, both like this. You've had a really windy Saturday and a really light wind Sunday. In fact, the footage I used for the latest video, we didn't get any footage of the weekend. I had to use footage from a previous weekend academy, so shh, don't tell anyone. But there we go. So much going on, it's probably quite difficult to remember off the top of my head. First of all, we have the 5-peat. That's such a word with the stars, with Bruno and Matthias. I hope I've said that second name right. Far bigger than me if I've got it wrong. But Star, just a wonderful class. And you know, for me, I'm always very passionate about the Olympics. I see it as well, one of the hardest, if not hardest, regattas to win. It's particularly special because, like the AC or whatever, it doesn't happen every year. But there's definitely room for classes after Olympics. You look at dragons and so on, still going for strength, and Star, arguably more so. It's a fantastic class there. In terms of Olympic classes, we've had a lot of events recently in Lanzarote. Personally, I wish I was there. We did a lot of our training in Lanzarote, Playa Blanca, for the Tokyo 2020, or Tokyo 2021 as it were, Olympic Games, because we felt it really emulated the waves we were going to have in Enoshima, and we couldn't actually go there because of the COVID pandemic. But big shout out to all those closest who've recently had their worlds. I'm still thinking about Emma in the IQ foil on a 60-point lead and finishing 3rd overall. Very mixed feelings about that. Fantastic TV, but you know, did the right person standing on top of the podium? I leave that to the Fozy to comment. 49ers have just finished. I won't try and do all the results off the top of my head, but perhaps, no surprise, Dutch teams very dominant in the class. In fact, for sailing, you really don't want to look like me. Being tall and skinny is definitely the best form, because you're just more of a lever. Although I did sail a 49er, doing one campaign there, very different when I sailed it without the fully carbon mast, although with these new black sails, the pirate sails, I think the weight is creeping up again to, crikey, probably closer to 170 kilos than 160 now, because just about being able to take that power to push the boat through the water. And then when you get onto foiling, you've got some really big guys sailing IQ foils and the kite surfers, because you're not pushing the water, you're going over the water, so actually having more weight doesn't really create more friction. But yeah, the 49ers, Dutch teams did well, and you know, sound a bit like a broken record, but the people who are performing with less than 6 months to go, they're likely to be the people who are performing at the Olympic Games. Those people who are trying to qualify at the last chance regatta in the air, whether that's their individual selection or getting a country spot, it's harder for them because they will have to do 2 peaks in 1 year, and they will have a lot less preparation time. But yeah, 49ers, I thought the media stuff was fantastic, and I think that's what it's all about. And something else which we nearly missed was the Women's Day, and it's so good that the Games has now got to 50-50 inclusion. You probably realise, due to my small size, I spend a lot of time sailing arguably women's classes. I mean, I was a training partner for the 2000 Games, which was actually the Europe, not the Ilka 6 at that point, or the Radio as it was known. I was training partner for Shirley Robertson. I was sort of 68, I think she was probably 70 kilos, very similar size, and she got Olympic gold, and it just carried on from there. And I think having that reliable training partner is so important, somebody who's just going to put the effort in, no mental games, just be consistent day in, day out. And I guess that's why I discovered my love of sailing, and somebody who definitely loves sailing is my dear Lily, and I would urge you to check out the piece World Sailing did on her for World Women's Day. It's a bit emotional. It's quite, you know, amazing story, and hopefully it's inspirational not only to Asian sailors but to any young girls who are thinking about taking up the sport. I'm very conscious to try and promote the women athletes, and I love to see more female coaches, because I'm sure for the girls sometimes it would be nicer not to have a middle-aged lamb like me but to have a younger female coach to talk to. So yeah, we need to keep on pushing. Andrew Pindar, Manetta, can't even speak, Magenta project just do amazing things, but it's never enough, and we need to really keep on going. And there's so much research to show in terms of leadership. You know, it's good to have both male and female influence right at the top, because they bring different things to the table. Indeed, the CEO for the RWA, or the last two CEOs, have been female, and I think they've done a fantastic job. And maybe you should snap one of them up to come and run US sailing, but I don't want to dive too deeply into that. But yeah, do check out all the content about female sailing. It's a very big thing. And again, time zone is my friend, so I hope to join you on the show. Questions always very welcome, but it's time for me to go sailing now.
Nice, as usual, as always. Thank you, John. You know, he made the point that arguably classes are even better after leaving the Olympics. He's talking about
That's true.
the Star class and the Dragon class and the FD and some others. So, you know, being in the Olympics is great, and the Olympics are great. They're like the America's Cup, the pinnacle of our sport, pinnacle of small boat racing in our sport, and we all celebrate it and love it and follow it. And on the other hand, the classes that have been in the Olympics and go away, and everybody says, oh, it'll be the death of the Star class. And 66 boats at Bacardi Cup in Miami, and on and on and on. So we'll talk about that. Thank John. Good point. And just a reminder that John's book, the Ilka book, has just been re-released. He's written it, co-written it with Tim Davis' son. It's available on Fernhurst Books and maybe on Amazon as well. I'm not 100% sure. Thanks, John Emmett, as Gordon Smith is saying. And a nice credit to Andrew Pindar and others who are pushing along women's sailing. We've got that video in a moment, and we'll play that for you in just a sec. But that book is out, the latest edition, not the first edition. It's the latest edition. It's been around for a while. And thank you, John Emmett, for your regular report to this show. Coach's Corner, John Emmett, sailing get to the front of the fleet. Bravo Zulu now, and it's our second one in the show, but there are, the show's full of Bravo Zulu because our sport is full of Bravo Zulus for the most part. Every now and then we go off on a tangent, a rant.
Yes.
Like,
yes, we do.
We do, like the non-sailing CEO at World Sailing, who we gratefully helped get rid of, and likewise the non-sailing CEO. Oh, did I mention the non-sailing CEO at US Sailing? But let's talk about the Bacardi Cup, because this was, as John said, and we've already mentioned, was a terrific event. Bacardi Cup history started back, this was the 97th edition, started back in 1927 with the Bacardi family, purveyors of rum, rumba. How do you say rum in Spanish?
Room.
The Bacardi family hosting a regatta on the then all-new Star boats right in front of their factory in La Habana, Cuba. The challenge for victory has been tough ever since that first edition, when back then featured the best sailors from North America coming to win the trophy. The race for glory has evolved massively, and since 1962, Miami has hosted the Bacardi Cup on Biscayne Bay, attracting the sport's big names from around the world. The relationship between the Bacardi Cup and the Star Class is bound tight. In fact, they have a Star Class meeting in Miami, a board meeting and so on, at every Bacardi Cup in Miami in this time of year, annually. There's some comments I'm going to go to right away. The first of Pasión Vela is the first. I'm not sure who this is. Please give us your real name if you would, please. The first event was established in 27 and was known originally as the Cup of Cuba, Copa de Cuba, before being sponsored by Bacardi from then onward. Interesting. Okay. Thank you. And Rick Bannerow, Crouton Bingo for whoever had 34 minutes into the show. They must be playing. Julia, they must be playing bingo on when I would mention the non-sailing seat. Yeah.
Right.
Carlos de Cardenas from Cuba was a terrific guy. I knew him during my IYRU days, and others being mentioned here by Pasión Vela. Thank you very much, Madame or Senor or Senora, who put that forward. Let's get back to the Bacardi Cup. The big story, of course, and we like to lead with a big story. It's the theme of today's show, as John mentioned, is Mateusz Kusznierewicz from Poland and Bruno Prada from Brazil secure their 5th straight victory. Indeed, a 5-peat at the 97th Bacardi Cup. The press release that came out a few days ago, because the Bacardi Cup was sailed coincidentally, the stars started early, and then the rest of the fleets came in, and they've expanded it now to the Bacardi Invitational Cup. Bacardi Invitational Regatta, I should say, and it's a terrific event. The climax of, however, the Bacardi Cup for the Star Class and the Bacardi Invitational Regatta was a day of anticipation and pressure. The relaxed and friendly atmosphere in the boat park this morning belied the intensity about to unfold racing against many of the best sailors in the world. This is going into the last day. All eyes were riveted on the three-way tiebreak to determine the winners of the 97th Bacardi Cup. Biscayne Bay set the stage for a spectacular finale, kicking off with a building 12 knots of breeze and waves. Here is the video.
Well, today for the race committee, it was almost a set it, forget it. We had some beautiful wind at 150 at 8 to 10 knots.
So we actually expected a little bit more wind.
A lot of fun.
3 guys, any one of them, and they're all good guys, will take this thing away.
We were getting the job done, and we needed to beat Mateusz and Bruno, and we were ahead. We passed everybody on the run. He was right behind us. We rounded the bottom first, and it's like, okay, we can just, you know, pound him back into oblivion, which we did, and it let some other boats get in front.
Eric was pushing us back, and he did a good job. So I must say that it was a battle.
And then the old man Augie, he's friggin' tough. He left us on that run and got himself back into it.
I have so much respect for Mateusz and Bruno and Eric and Payson.
There are 3 boats, us and the 2 other American boats, Eric and Augie with their crews, and whoever wins the Bacardi Cup.
And on a penultimate date, you figure it would weed itself out, but they're there solid.
I love this kind of situation. I'm very curious what is going to happen.
Tomorrow, a little more breeze.
It's going to be difficult, at least for us. Both Mateusz and Eric are going to have a little bit of an advantage over us on that.
Nobody said it's going to be easy, and I know that we have to put everything to win tomorrow.
Take a little risk and then just try and win the race, or you just keep doing the same thing, which is big fleet, be conservative, use your speed, use your smarts, and just kind of tick away at it.
Give it the best shot I can.
Tomorrow is the day. It's going to be the final race, and 3 boats can win the championship, the Bacardi Cup. If you really have to work as hard and push and fight for it, and then you win, that tastes even better.
Line up and let it rip.
As Ed Worley says, look, no computers or autopilots. Great stuff. So, as you all know, Mateusz and Bruno went on to win again with unwavering focus. Mateusz Kusznierewicz from Poland and Bruno Prada controlled the fleet from start to finish, clinching an unprecedented 5th consecutive victory, and once again forced the chasing fleet to walk.
They also note that that's the longest running sponsorship in sailing.
Arguably, I suppose that is. Who said that?
Chris Mueller.
Nice. Fritz, thank you for that. Yeah, it's just an astonishing class, and you know, our sport, Julia loves history and tradition. We love history and tradition on this show, and it shows. I start to sound like Kamala Harris. We love it on this show, and it shows. I just like the photo. These guys, and they're wonderful characters. I don't know them well. Actually, I know Mateusz fairly well, but here's the rest of the top 10. As I mentioned, they had 66 boats, that you can see just the competition here. You'd think this was a world championship, not just a regular, as Paul Henderson likes to call it, a regatta week. But Mateus and Bruno, and then the old man, I like that Eric Doyle called Augie the old man. And Augie and Henry were second, and Eric and Payson third, and on down the list. Lars Grail, Julia, your boyfriend, Lars Grail.
Yes.
And Senor Matos there. Senor Matos, they were in seventh, and another old guy, Jack Jennings, with Pedro Truchet, Will Stowe, Parker Mitchell, and of course Paul Caird and Frijolf Kleen in 10th place. So that was the Bacardi Cup. That's the star part of the regatta. And then we've got the other classes which joined in for the Invitational Regatta, which is a reasonably new feature. What is this, the last couple of years? And in the J70 class, Bravo Zulu to Laura Grundon, who was a candidate here in the U.S. this year for Yachtswoman of the Year. And I was on the committee that made the selection of the finalists in both the men and the women, and I gave very serious consideration to her. Indeed, I think she's a deserving candidate, if not now, but certainly in the near future. She had Taylor Canfield, Luke Mueller, and Malcolm Lamferry crewing for her. There's some criticism when it comes to these awards for somebody like Laura and saying, well, she had Taylor Canfield and he sails with her in all these regattas and he's calling the shots and it's really him, not her. Well, excuse me. Mm-hmm. She organizes this thing. She pays, presumably, pays for a good chunk of it. And she's a hell of a good helms person and a hell of a good sailor. She could easily be the Yachtswoman of the Year in this country, in my never so humble opinion. Mm-hmm. In the Melgus 24 class, Bora Gulari, a good Michigan boy, longtime friend with Norman Burge, Nick Ford, and R.J. Porter, Charlie Smythe. They took the Melgus 24, highly competitive, both those classes. In fact, all five of these classes. The Snipe class, victory to Ernesto Rodriguez and Issa Uribe. In the Snipe class, look at that beautiful photo. Mm-hmm. Fabulous conditions on Biscayne Bay. And, of course, the Viper 640, which is a reasonably new class, Marek Zaleski and Chris Zaletsky and Jake Bratt, I suppose, winning in the Viper 640. Bravo Zulu to them, as well as to the winners of the VX1 class, Christopher Alexander, Grace Howie, and Ricky Welsh. Terrific stuff all around, and we have yet another video celebrating all of these classes and this terrific event.
Perfect conditions. I mean, we couldn't ask for anything better for the last day, so.
It was a tremendous week. So much competition.
It's really cool to win a signature event like this.
It's a fantastic feeling to win Bacardi Cup.
We ended up extending our lead and we ended up winning both races today.
My guys are just never give up. I'm just very lucky for the sales I get, people that are willing to come through my program and be a part. It floors me every day.
The races were so close. It was fun to go out there and see it on the water.
So knowing that the Bacardi Cup is in its 97th year, with the stars and the history of the Bacardi family supporting sailing.
That's what I love about Bacardi Cup. It's a big regatta, it's legendary regatta, and to be part of it and, make a history somehow, it's special.
Next year, we're going to have more sailors coming in, actually international. I heard a lot of people that want to be here just because of the party and the Bacardi, and it's up Miami. It's a great combination.
This Bacardi Cup and the Bacardi Invitational is feeling like family, and the company is all about family and heritage. So we just feel that this just fits in perfectly. Congratulations to all the winners. We're really looking forward to seeing you here next year.
As I said, bravo Zulu to all concerned, and especially to the Bacardi Company and to the 4 clubs down there in Miami that put this on. It's really cool stuff. And just a P.S. here, a postscript to Laura Grundon and her Dark Energy team, again, because they sailed exceedingly well and continue to, and not just here, but also in offshore classes. And the 97th Bacardi Cup and Invitational Regatta brought together, I thought it was a nice photo to use with this final comment, brought together over 200 teams, setting a new record for the event. more than 600 sailors from 25 nations spanning North and South America, Europe, and Asia competed for some of sailing's most coveted titles.
I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Bravo Zulu to everybody involved. It's just a terrific event, international event, and more. There's Taylor Canfield there on the left of that left side of that photo, and those of you who are here now, you're going to really get the comment. Yeah, Steve Gruber is saying Laura Grunden is a force in Melgus 24 as well. She is in a number of classes, but she has Taylor sailing with her, and he's a terrific guy, no doubt, the heart and soul. Well, maybe not the heart and soul, but then maybe partly the brains of that operation. She would be the heart and soul of it. But here he is with his dad in that photo we ran last Friday, Julia, when his dad, Bill Canfield, Taylor's dad, Bill, former president, past president of the U.S. Virgin Islands Sailing Association here in the U.S., down in the Caribbean. And he wrote a terrific article. This is a segue now to, I'm going to say it one more time, but he wrote a terrific article about the trials and tribulations of our National Olympic program here in the U.S. Bill Canfield did in Scuttlebutt. I read the whole article here on the show last Friday, so you can go back and look at it, or go to Scuttlebutt and read it there in their archive section. But he, among others, have said, this guy has got to go. The non-sailing CEO, take a drink if you're having this drinking bingo that you guys are playing. The non-sailing CEO has got to go. And indeed, anybody who voted for that Crutonic lawsuit against America One Racing, J.J. Fetter, many others are calling for this group to stand down. And I have some news. I'm not going to talk about it here, but there's hopefully going to be a resolution. Hopefully they're going to withdraw that lawsuit, and there's some negotiation going on. One here's between U.S. Sailing and America One Racing to at least put it behind them and us.
Yes.
Until after the Olympics. Let's see if that comes to fruition. In the meantime, I'll say it one more time. The non-sailing CEO has got to go. The CMO, non-sailing CMO, and the non-sailing CFO have both gone. What do you think of that?
That was good.
So that would be good. Okay, time to visit the liquor cabinet. Stingray is saying, drinking game bingo. I'm sure he has heart of... Yes, I'm sure. I know so. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm sure everybody involved has a heart of gold, Baton Rouge. Okay, all you croutons.
Yeah.
Julia, I'm going to get to some safe ground here. What happened on this day in history, the 12th of March, 2011? And while you're thinking about it and the others are thinking about it and Googling it, Ollie Boys is checking in from Southwold Yacht Club in the UK. We featured them a few shows back. Nice to have continuing eyeballs from that cool club, Southwold Sailing Club. The minutes and votes of U.S. Sailing should be open to the members. Agree, Ed Worley. But back to our this day in history. Any ideas, Julia?
March 12th is my father's birthday.
Well, what year was he born? Not 2011.
No. Maybe 1911.
David James, as often is the case, if not always,
yes,
when he's on here, he almost always has it. There was to be your clue. You want to try to pronounce that, Julia?
What, Fukushima?
Fukushima. You got to be careful. Fuck you, Shima. I said it.
Shame on you.
I know, shame on me. But that is the Fukushima Daiichi. Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. You remember that the day before, on the 11th, they had the earthquake and the horrific, several tsunamis. I didn't realize that there were several. And they came in at something like, one of them came in at more than 10 meters.
Yeah, it was
12,
really
13,
tall. I know.
12, 13, even some say 14 meters. Then there were subsequent ones, of course, that rolled in at 7 or 8, all of which, or at least those 2 or 3 of which, were over the planned design of this plant for what they thought would be the highest ever tsunami that might come ashore there in Fukushima. So in 2011, that reactor, on this day, the day after all that, a reactor at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear plant melted down and exploded and released radioactivity into the atmosphere a day after that earthquake. And of course, the whole place became they were lucky because the people worked really hard and everybody from other countries threw together and they figured out how to cool the thing before more of the reactors exploded. And yeah, they had to dump some radioactive water into the sea, but it dissipated. And so far, Julia, last time I checked, we had that stuff come over here. We're not glowing from the armpits, are we? I'm not, anyway. Hopefully the fish we're eating is not affected, but one never knows.
Yeah.
The locals were evacuated, and they now say, as David James is commenting, the cleanup will take until at least 2051, and it's costing literally billions of dollars. In TEPCO, the Tokyo or whatever that electricity company called TEPCO, has long since decided to shut the plant down and mothball it and so on and so forth. But here's some workers leaving the factory and having to be checked for radioactivity, that courtesy of Britannica.com. On this day in history, the 12th of March, and for many weeks and months and years beyond, at Banro, there's a reason Godzilla comes from Japan. Oh dear. Ugh, I'm glad we don't have Tokyo Electric Power Company. Thank you, Clark Chapin. TEPCO. Okay. We are still celebrating International Women's Day, which was last Friday, and it's Women's History Month, and I don't know what all else, but the Wild Feminist, we celebrated for several months now as we followed her in her final quest up the Atlantic from Cape Horn, from the corn, as Paul Caird would say, and her finishing second in the Global Solar Challenge. You did it, Cole Brower. Congratulations, and we're still celebrating her. We're trying to get her on the show, but I want to get, as I said Friday, we want to give her a break. She's done NBC, CBS, ABC, People Magazine, yada, 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 and, we'll let the sailing publications and so on get in. And after the dust settles, we'll see if we can get Cole on here to talk about the experience. Clark Chapin pointed out to me this morning that she is not a member of U.S. Sailing. And by the way, Henry Brower, who is the vice president, we don't know if he's in. Does anybody know if Henry Brower, who's vice president of U.S. Sailing, is any relation to Cole Brower?
We don't.
We don't know that. We should check that out.
Yeah.
But apropos Women's Month and International Women's Day, John mentioned in his presentation, his video, that there is a nice video from World Sailing celebrating former women Olympians, going way back to the first female Olympian. You think you can guess who the first female Olympic sailor was?
A sailor.
In fact, gold medalist. An American who apparently emigrated or was born in America, emigrated to Switzerland, was sailing for Switzerland way back when. Yes. And of course, Lily is one of the 5 famous female Olympians.
Yes.
Whom World Sailing has pointed to in this video, which I think you will all enjoy. Have a look.
Here are 5 inspiring women you should know who have sailed at the Olympics. Number 5. Who was the first ever woman to win gold at the Olympics? Helene de Portales was born in 1868 and was an American-born Swiss sailor who competed in the 1900 Summer Olympics in Paris. She was also the first woman to represent Switzerland at the Olympics. Her father's cousin was Charles Oliver Asselin, the famous yachtsman who won the America's Cup 6 times. His second wife, Edith Hope Goddard Asselin, was also a pioneer and was the first ever woman to crew on an America's Cup yacht in 1895. Courageous, determined, and true trailblazers, Helene and Edith shattered stereotypes and set sail for a new era of women in sports. Number 4. This British athlete is the most successful female Olympic sailor of all time. Hannah Mills was introduced to sailing on a family holiday, and since then she has gone on to conquer the world. The first Olympic success was a silver medal on home waters at London 2012. Hannah went one better in Rio, striking gold in the women's 470 with Saskia Clark. Her third Olympic medal was a gold in Tokyo with new partner Ailey McIntyre. Hannah and Ailey also won World Sailor of the Year in 2021. Hannah took some time out in 2022 to start a family, but was soon back on the water. She and Saskia Clark will reunite for the first Women's America's Cup later this year when they will target success in Barcelona. Number 3. This Spanish sailor is an Olympic champion and is now dedicated to educating children about the health of our oceans. A double Olympic champion in Barcelona 1992 and Atlanta 1996, Teresa Zabel has been successful in just about every venture. She speaks 4 languages and has channeled her passion for the sea and sailing into the Ecomar Foundation. Founded in 1999, the commitment was made to give back to the sea all the satisfaction it had given her during her sporting career. Reaching more than 15,000 children each year, the focus is marine conservation, lifestyle resources, and environmental education. Number 2. Born partially deaf and blind, Li Jiashu discovered sailing at the age of 10. Through her determination, she went on to become the first Asian sailor to win an Olympic gold medal at the age of just 25. Her rise through the ranks was rapid. 1998 Chinese national champion. Just a year after starting to sail, Lily narrowly avoided tragedy after capsizing in a sudden storm in 1999. 2001 and 2002 world champion and 2002 Asian Games winner, and recovered from a tumor in her knee in 2004, which forced her to miss the Athens Olympics. She returned stronger than ever, making the move to the ILCA 6 boat class. Her hot streak continued. 2006 world champion, 2008 world silver and Olympic bronze in Beijing, and then gold at London 2012. Lily also majored in business management and now reports on some of the world's biggest events, hosts a podcast and campaigns for ocean health. Number 1. Francesca Klapsich is the definition of a multi-skilled sailor, finishing top 20 at London 2012, competing in the ILCA 6 class. She then went on to place 5th in the 2016 Olympics in Rio, having switched class to the women's skiff, the 49er FX. Competing with teammate Giulia Conti, the pair took multiple Italian, European and World Championship podiums, earning the Golden Collar Sporting Merit Award in the process, the highest recognition by the Italian Olympic Committee. It didn't stop there. Klapsich then turned to competitive offshore racing, first as part of Turn the Tide on Plastic in the 2017-18 Volvo Ocean Race, and then aboard 11th Hour Racing in the Ocean Race 2022-23, where she became the first Italian to win the race. She has also partnered with 11th Hour Racing to help cultivate a safe, diverse and equitable environment within sailing. In what will be a busy 2024, Klapsich was named the squad lead in Upwind by Merconcept, a multi-hull offshore high-performance race team for female sailors, as well as part of the New York Yacht Club, American Magic women's team, in the POL Women's America's Cup. Francesca will also be looking to achieve a lifelong goal of competing in the 2028 Vendée Globe. Who inspires you to take to the water? Tell us in the comments.
Who inspires you to take to the water, Julia? Who?
You do.
I don't.
No, I grew up on the beach.
Well, you in Carpinteria down south of here,
Mm-hmm.
but nice video, and bravo Zulu to them. Sponsored by Musto and SAP. This is a World Sailing video, obviously, and featured our super fozy Lily.
Oh yes,
Julisia, as you would say in Chinese. I'm sure not that badly. You'd say it better if you spoke Mandarin.
Yeah.
That was a great recap. Joe Holtzman is saying, wonderful video, fantastic sailors, Gordon Smith. Yeah, exactly. And Holtzman's right. I think old Uncle Joe, it's just not females, but just plain great sailors. Yeah. And David James saying Cole Brower's father is David, not Henry. Yeah, I wasn't thinking necessarily it was her father, but maybe her uncle or a brother. But I guess that you're probably right, David. It probably is generational because she is, what, 29? Was she 29, Julia? 30. And Henry Brower, who must be my age. I knew Henry growing up.
Cole,
So.
I think she was 25.
No, I think it's 20, 28, 29, 30-ish. And there's somebody will check that for us. Okay, now we have another video, Julia. This one is... we're going to skip now to SailGP. I'm going to cover SailGP also at the end of the show, but I thought while we're in the women's mode here, women's sailors, SailGP has put a really nice video out about the women in SailGP on the yachts currently racing, and I thought you would enjoy this video as well.
I first went sailing down in Cornwall on the southwest coast of England on a family holiday.
I first went sailing on Pittwater on the northern beaches just north of Sydney Harbour.
I live in Brittany, so my first experience in sailing was in Brittany in the north of France. And I sail Optimist, you know, a famous small boat when you are children.
I first went sailing at Napier Sailing Club when I was about 9 years old, I think, just in the Learn to Sail program.
My sister sailed before me, so I want to follow her path.
A family friend, I have an older brother and we spent a lot of time with him growing up, and he was quite into sailing and really passionate about the yacht club, so kind of tagged along, and then I got dragged along with my brother and fell in love with it.
My family were sailors and we lived really close to the water and close to the local sailing club, and so that's where I started.
I guess my brothers, they'd gone on a sailing course the year before, and being the little sister, just wanted to do everything they did. So yeah, didn't care what it was, but yeah, this was sailing.
The advice I give myself is to go all in. I was a bit, not hesitant, but wasn't kind of aware that I could go all in, I guess, and wanted kind of other options, but 100%, do more the better.
Ooh, I think just embrace every opportunity that comes your way. Enjoy every moment of everything you're doing, and don't think too hard about all of the things that are going on outside of your control.
Probably for the teenagers, and there is no limits except your limits that you fix. So I think it's really helpful, especially for the women.
Make sure that you love the sport you're doing and keep going if that's the way it is.
I think it was called Port Start, but I'm not sure.
My first boat was called Speed Demon. It was a Manly Junior.
No name.
Coaching is my first job, I think.
My parents are farmers. During the summer, I work as a farmer in biological farms, and it was my first job experience.
Not sure it's technically my first job, but I grew up on a farm, so just worked on the farm a lot.
Ooh, I mean, Sydney was amazing.
Oh, hard question. Just saying how much we love Chicago, so probably here actually, and can't go past Lake Garda.
Probably Lanzarote, because it's really sunny and really wavy, so much fun.
Bermuda is my favourite place to sail. Last year was my first and only time there. It's just a stunning place to be around, and the water's crystal clear and the wind was beautiful.
Window.
Oh, I'm a window seat.
A window seat, so I can use it as just a pillow to nap on.
Flat water and between 10 and 15 knots. Yeah, for me it's perfect conditions.
I love wind and waves, so right on the edge when it's pretty hectic is definitely fun.
I would say like 15 to 18 knots in quite flat water. And sunny, and sunny.
Probably sunny day, good breeze, 15 plus knots. Flat water is nice, but obviously anything makes it interesting.
God, there's loads of people I look up to. Serena Williams.
Benensley.
Most recently, I've looked up to Tia Claire Toomey, the CrossFitter. She's just an all-time legend and the greatest in her sport.
A lot of people. Sally McRae, she's an ultra runner. Got an awesome mindset, I guess. Really strong and courageous person, which is, really look up to.
Probably in Polynesia Island.
So in 10 years' time, I will hopefully have won SailGP a few times as a strategist and maybe even as a driver. I will have spent a lot of time with baby Sienna. She'll be 10 by then. And hopefully will have helped in some way the climate crisis that we're facing, really try and push that movement forward and try and accelerate the changes that we need to see.
I'd love to still be sailing and hopefully driving one of these boats one day.
Not too far from where I am now, but at the next level.
The next level. Is that a good question to ask, window or aisle?
They were trying to get, I don't know.
Which do you prefer, window or aisle? Not, if you're in first class, it doesn't matter. I know you always fly in first, but
I
if
don't
you're
always.
back with the rest of us tourists, in eco, as the Europeans would say.
It depends on what time the flight is. If it's a night flight, the window's wonderful because you can sleep.
You can lean against the wall.
Yeah.
John Emmett says window, and he does as much flying as any of us these days. I like the aisle. I like to be able to put like sitting here in the studio.
Yes.
You know, I have to for my poor old lower back,
Yeah.
which is, you know, after all those surgeries, I like to keep my legs crossed. It really helps my lower back
does.
feel a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like people who've got back problems sleep with a pillow under their knees or on their side, maybe. And the same thing with having your legs crossed really helps relieve some of the pressure on your lower back. So, and sitting in the aisle, you can do that as long as you don't trip the flight attendant going by or get your feet run over by the cart.
Yeah, but not the center seat.
Well, nobody wants the center seat, do they? Unless you want to hold hands with somebody.
I know.
You want to get some little airplane nookie. Julia.
Oh my.
You know, I just like this slide. The Bacardi Cup videos, I didn't like the fact they were vertical, but the photos that they gave us, they had the names in the lower, as you saw when I ran through that, in the names of the crew in the lower third. It was really good. The press release was short and succinct, and they had a great Facebook page, and this photo is just fabulous. Yeah, Bannerow is right. I was going to say it if I think I'm going to need to go to the men's, the LAV. You would want the aisle seat so you can get up and go whenever you want without having to crawl over somebody. Right. Whereas if you think somebody inside of you is going to go a lot, then you want them on the. I know, no, right. I prefer the aisle if I'm in eco.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay. One last comment. I've started, you can see the comments start flowing in when we're not in a video. Replying, this is Groover. Steve is saying, Emmett, replying to Emmett, I'm always window, but last time Dubai, JFK, the other two in my row somehow managed to sleep 14 hours straight. I hated having to wake them up to have a walk. Yeah, okay. We've all flown a lot. And we need not get into that. No, we have a little America's Cup update.
Okay.
And it's not, watch the video, and then as you maybe saw in the show notes, I asked, well, what are the implications of this? Are there any implications? And think about it in that context while you're watching the video. It's an interesting video, nice gesture by ETNZ to the French team, but is there more than meets the eyes? Have a look. This is Glenn Ashby, interviewed in Barcelona.
Here with Glenn Ashby, former member of Emirates Team New Zealand and sailor. Glenn, can you please tell us a little bit what's your role now in Orient Express Racing Team?
Yeah, well, look, I've come over here, for a few days to spend a little bit of time with, with the team. They're sort of fairly late to the table, if you like, for AC37, and the team, I guess, is really the only team that hasn't had any AC75 experience. All the other teams have had experience on the big boat, and this team certainly hasn't. So it's a fairly small team, with a relatively small budget. So they've got the learning curve's really, really steep. But I think it's a fantastic opportunity, for them to to be part of the show. And I think hopefully their design team have done a nice job of designing them a fast boat.
When talking about your role specifically, are you completely orientated into sailors, or you're also working alongside with the design team and other areas?
Yeah, look, I guess my role is very much a sort of a helicopter view from the outside, if you like, looking inside the team. So, obviously spending time with the sailing team, sort of working with them to try and, help them sort of learn a little bit about the AC75 and spend a little bit of time, with the LEQ, just sort of talking about the physics, if you like, and the sort of sailability of how the boats work and what they're sort of likely to experience, as they move forward. So, whilst to be spending time, with the sailing team guys, I guess, there's other departments, design and sort of management, I guess, that you can sort of be involved with as well. So it's really a global overview of just really the campaign as a whole.
When talking about that overview, today for the third day on the water and also on shore, can you share with us a little bit what's the first impression you have about the team overall speaking?
Yeah, the first impression, of the team here, they're all very, very enthusiastic and very excited to move forwards into the 75, which is which is fantastic. And for me, I haven't been involved with the America's Cup or with the team since the last race really of the last America's Cup. So living back in Australia and really sort of doing other projects, if you like, that that have wheels and things like that. It's been nice to get back on the water again. I certainly haven't done really much sailing at all over the last couple of years, and except for a little bit of windsurfing, it's been nice to get back on the water again. So for me, it's a real pleasure to be here.
Is the plan that your level of commitment and involvement with the team increases when we get closer to the Cup and once the AC 75 is on the water?
Yeah, look, my role is really, just I guess a few days every now and again to to come and visit the team, and obviously the 75 sort of coming online is a huge priority. Not just for Orient Express racing team, it's also a priority for all the teams, and they'll all be working hard, getting the boats ready and getting on the water. So, once the racing starts, I'll be having to put my commentary hat on and get into the commentary booth for that side of things. But certainly, it's a really exciting period from now. I think not only for this team, but for all the teams. As the big boats are getting close to going into the water, and really that, I think, certainly for me personally, is one of the most exciting periods of the America's Cup, is actually when you see the boats, for the first time come out of the sheds, and the design, the foils, what sort of sails and things they've designed as well. So, and how the boats are actually sailed. So it's a really exciting period, and it's a great opportunity. I'm very pleased to be here, and thankful for the opportunity to come and be part of Orient Express Racing Team.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so what do you think of that? Do you want to start, or should we ask the Fosey?
Ask the Fosey.
Ask the Fosey. Well, first of all, Stingray says Ashby is an absolute rock star. I think we all agree with that. Mm-hmm. Steve Gruber is saying, well, Glenn gets to jumpstart the French and maybe make some money. I don't know if he's being paid personally. I don't know if he's on salary to ETNZ. I don't know if the French are paying the ETNZ to have him come over, have Glenny come over and help. But David James says, regardless, good observation that there is more to it than sailors and design. There's management, personnel, finance, logistics. True. And with the AC 75s coming online, as you all know, in fact, there was a picture that Margherita Bottini posted of a boat en route. And I don't know if it was Alinghi's boat en route to Barcelona by truck, or if it was a boat en route to down someplace to be shipped to Cagliari for the Italians. I rather suspect that's who it was, but I don't know. It was a mysterious photo, she said on her Facebook page this morning. And as Ed Worley is observing, remember, TNZ also sold the AC-75 design to the French to jumpstart them. Mm-hmm. So I suspect there's a lot going on here, but obviously Team New Zealand is cozying up to the French, no surprise. And they're no doubt Glenn's going back and telling them everything that the French are doing, because nobody really thinks, given the day late and the dollar short, the campaign that they have, that they're going to be competitive with the other teams. But one never knows. The other thing that I think is going on, Julia, is that everyone expects that as soon as remember, the two boating, you can only build one AC-75. You can only use one of your own AC-75s, but there's nothing that prevents a team such as the French, once they're eliminated after only a handful of days. So one of the teams of the 5 challengers is going home, is eliminated within, 10 or 12 days? Ed Worley and I were talking about that. Yeah. Point being, if the French are eliminated, they can take their boat and go over and help tune up the Kiwis, mm-hmm. which used to be frowned upon and more in the America's Cup. Yes. But it's happened before in the past. that a challenger went over and helped tune up the defender, and in some cases screwed them up. But that's another story, a long story. So Glenn Ashby, who's a terrific guy and one of the smartest, best guys still in the sport and certainly in the Cup, no doubt is an invaluable asset and a go-between the French and the Kiwis, for whom he presumably still works. One never knows. So that gets us to the last leg. Oh, I didn't ask the Fozy. What do you think? Fastest sailor on land for sure. Fritz Miller says 222 kilometers. Remember, he broke that land sailing speed record. Ed Worley, let's see how many NZ sailors are on the French boat. Good point. Good question. Good comment, Ed. Thank you. Future challenger of record, Baton Rouge is saying. There's a good question. Bottom up, out of context again. Arr, bottom up. What's that mean? Bottom up, out of context. Oh, sorry, Steve. Yeah, it's hard for me to go from the top down. And doing comments because I know
it's
and then
confusing to everybody
and
else.
then it's confusing to me too. But then the comments pop up. But for technical reasons here, it's easier for me if I go up. I'll show you why. I owe you an explanation. Up here, you can see in this corner of the screen, I have the comments, and I can scroll them, and they're coming from the same feed that you see, which is in a browser, which then I can cut to. But I have to go up to my corner here on the screen, and I got to go up, scroll up to where the last comment that we saw talked about, yada, yada, and then I got to cut into them. And when I do that, the comment that I cut into might be way above where you see them on this browser, which only's got, a dozen, 10, 12 comments on it. So it's technically sometimes just easier and better if I cut to the bottom and then roll up. Yeah, it gets them out of context, but still.
Can't you place market?
It's too hard. It's too hard. What I need is to I need more people to give us more money, and then I'll go get a professional commenting system. How was that? Well done, Julia.
Well
done. People are gonna think we put that on. Okay, nationality rules apply, Andrew Pinder. Yeah, they don't really though, Andrew. They don't really apply to practice sessions. They used to. We used to stop people from going back and forth between teams. Okay, we'll see how that pans out.
And why was it stopped?
For exactly this reason, to stop teams from ganging up.
Yeah.
And for a while, remember the American teams back in the New York Yacht Club days, the defenders, once they were eliminated, they could help out. Even in Australia, 86, 87, once we, America 2, were eliminated, we gave spinnakers to Dennis. We did things to help Dennis out. Ed Worley's team, which was Newport Harbor, helped Dennis's team out because there were 6 American teams down there and mostly offering support to each other. When Bill Koch, remember when Dennis was sailing in the defense and won the defense trials, I was with the team and we won the defense trials in 95. Dennis's team beat the Young America team. Was that their name, John Marshall's team? And also Bill Koch's team, the all-women's team. We knew that both those boats were faster than our boat that Dennis had built, the single boat. And we went to those other teams and tried to get them. Bill Koch wouldn't give us his boat, even though I think Dennis offered him $1 million to lease it, charter it, just for the match against Russell Coots. Not that it would have mattered. Russell was much faster, probably. And John Marshall, who was really short of money and needed the cash to pay down his remaining campaign debts, he did charter us the Mermaid, which then Dennis and Co. switched onto, and only had a few days to switch onto the boat and then race in the match. We probably would have been better off staying in the boat that Dennis and his team knew, inside and out. No pun intended. Groover is saying, I interrupted his comment about Ashby when it was actually about TNZ selling the design to the French. I guess I just need to expand my comment so you are not walking in on the middle of a conversation. Yeah, that would help, Steve, if people break comments up into single comments, and if they don't refer back to previous comments, and just if they're standalone comments, that helps me as well. This is a good point. Good question. And I again will do my best to go scroll up and come down, but it's hard for the reasons I've tried to explain, probably not well. Last leg here. And we promised you some Sail GP ink since we got another week and a half before we get to the next Sail GP event in Christchurch in New Zealand. And first is a recap of what went on in Sydney. I found this video interesting. I think you will too.
So we're here in Sydney Harbour for the Sail GP event, and it's been a bit of a roller coaster of a weekend. Practice racing got cancelled on the Friday, which for us was actually a pretty big deal. For Giles coming in, driving for Abu Dhabi, we literally didn't foil the whole weekend, and so coming here knowing there was going to be some wins, definitely felt like it upped the intensity and the kind of vibe in the team, because Giles just hasn't done any time. So yeah, practice racing got cancelled. So then straight into Saturday and straight into racing, it was really, really tricky conditions. We had a southerly wind, which is offshore. We had Shark Island in the middle of the race course. Lots of puffs, lots of shifts. So I think as a team, we've got so much to learn. With Giles coming in, there's a lot around the communication, how I can help in the best way with the strategy.
And here comes Emirates GBR from 8th place now into 3rd. They're back in the game.
Hail Mary's come good for Giles Scott. He took the different split at the bottom of the course, found more wind. The brains trust of Hannah Mills and Giles Scott at the back of the British boat. They're going to turn right on their own, and they're back in the race.
At the moment it's hard for him to get his head out of the boat because he's so focused on sailing it, so it's just a huge learning curve, which is always exciting, to be honest, when you always feel like your improvement rate is really high. And coming into today, Sunday, we had very different conditions, northeasterly wind, so a lot more stable, still nice foiling conditions, and it just felt like the step up Giles made from yesterday to today, and just how he could sail the boat and get his head out and we could have a really good chat. It was amazing to see. So really excited going into Christchurch and the rest of the season. And yeah, it's Sail GP. It's going to be hard. The teams here are the best teams in the world, but we've also got some of the best sailors. Yeah, so the season points are really tight for that 3rd spot. The Aussies and the Kiwis have kind of made a bit of a jump now, but anything can happen always, and for us we just need to keep that learning curve coming, and hopefully we'll time the bounce and it'll come at a quick enough pace that we're there or thereabouts fighting for that 3rd spot.
Okay, nice video, Hannah. Nice video for the Brits.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of you are big supporters of that team, and we'd all like to see them come good. Giles Scott and co.
Yes.
Stingray is saying, I'm so looking forward to coming Sail GP events in Christchurch, Bermuda, etc., and hopefully Chicago, since we now understand who Julia's favorite band is. Chicago. I actually preferred by just a little bit Blood, Sweat, and Tears over Chicago, but jazz rock has always been a favorite of mine, and apparently yours too.
Well, not always.
Sail GP continues here with a bit of news. This coming out this morning, several of you made pithy comments about it. The team, the New Zealand team, led by ETNZ helmsman, but also the co-CEO of the New Zealand Sail GP team, is now to be known as the Black Foils. Introducing the Black Foils, the New Zealand Sail GP team. Now, we've been talking about this for a long time, and I even have said on the show, why doesn't your yacht club, Julia?
Yes.
Okay, I'm probably a member too, but why don't yacht clubs say, hey, our sailing team, when they go off and sail, we'll call them the St. Francis 49ers or the St. Francis Giants, not that you'd name them after our other professional sports teams, but the idea that they might be the St. Francis Golden Gators. I don't know what you would call them, but I like, as most professional, a lot of in amateur sporting teams have a nickname. Exactly. So I like this, and I like what these guys are doing. I was going to put it forward as a corrector Crutonic and let you all have it out, but okay. Here, the driver and co-CEO Peter Burling added, the Black Foils represent the spirit of New Zealand. We're a nation of pioneers, achievers, and ocean lovers. The foils are what allows us to fly above the water at speeds above 100 clicks per hour. They represent innovation and progression in our sport. That's a quote from Pete Burling. Established by Burling and Blair Tuke in 2020, the New Zealand SailGP team entered the Global Racing Championship in Season 2 and is now one of the most formidable teams in the fleet. Yada, yada. So the adoption of black foils comes midway through a breakthrough season for one of the world's fastest growing sports and entertainment properties. SailGP has recorded unstoppable growth in New Zealand and around the world. Last year's ITM New Zealand Sail Grand Prix Christchurch was watched by more than 400,000 Kiwis, and New Zealand has tripled its digital following so far this season. So Burling is saying that he hoped that this new identity would provide a rallying cry for fans new and old. New Zealand sailing fans are among the most passionate in the world, and we hope this identity is one our supporters can get behind, whether cheering us on in Littleton or watching us halfway across the globe. So, you know, you have the All Blacks, which is the famously good Kiwi rugby team of note. You've got the Black Ferns, the White Ferns, which are what, New Zealand basketball team. So it only makes sense for the Kiwis. But why not? Is it correct or Crutonic? I like it. What do you think now? What do you think, Julia?
There's some good reasons for it. It sounds like the black foils sound a little sinister to me.
Well, Rick Banner says Black Foil's press release is as hyperbolic as the Bacardi Cup release. It was brilliantly written. Did you write it, Rick? I think Rick must have written that.
It was Bob.
Bacardi Cup.
Yeah.
Black wings hulls would have been better, Bing Bong says, instead of black foils, maybe. Here I am going from the bottom up again. Clark Chapin up higher. He's saying my high school, Plymouth, named all their sports teams the Rocks, Plymouth Rocks, but that's in Plymouth, Michigan, not in Plymouth in Massachusetts. But that didn't go over well for the swim team. Clark.
Oh, that's lovely.
That's pretty good, Clark.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'm trying to go in the order that Gruber wants me to go. Black wings, that would have been correct for professional sailing. Not for amateur sailing. I don't know, Ed. Why not? Black foils will sell a lot of merch. Well, Chris Fury, that's the point, right? We'll sell a lot of merch in New Zealand. Just make your mascot a Kiwi. Yeah, well, that's taken.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So here is another continuing feature here on SailGP, and that is on the wing trimmers.
We'll have more energy than we can deal with, so we're always trying to make the sails flatter to less power, less drive, which is slightly different to what we've had all season.
The windier it gets, the harder it gets for everyone.
Because things are happening quicker, you can find yourself in a bad situation a bit faster.
The wing trimmer is the guy making sure the boat is going as fast as possible.
The F50 has 3 different sizes of wing. It's the 18, the 24 and the 29. And you'll use the bigger wing in the lighter wind and the smaller wing in the heavy.
We can set the wing to some optimum settings, and then it's literally in and out. You know, as the wing goes out, you lose power, and as it comes in, you gain power.
Trim it on, coming down, Eric.
And as wing trimmers on the F50, because we're foiling, we're actually controlling the heel of the boats.
In the lighter winds, it's easier to go head out and look around and look at the wind and the other boats, but when it's windy, it's just better to focus on speed.
We have a lot of instrumentation on board, which is giving us targets for almost every single thing that we can adjust on board. And to be honest with Team Australia, we don't actually use those targets. We do everything on feel. We think that our feeling is better and more refined than the targets that are produced and given to us by SailGP.
Okay, let's get a foiling, guys.
We're comfortable when it's windy, and we like it to be on the edge, you know, boats kind of risk of capsizing and losing control, because we feel like we can push the boat to the limit more than particularly the newer teams and the younger teams.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating next few days within our team, but it's going to be even more fascinating watching teams like the Americans who haven't done a huge amount in this stuff, and to see whether their humbleness comes out a little bit more.
Taylor, I think that was a shot across your proverbial bow. And Probably Mike as well. Just a reminder of where we stand and where the teams stand going into the Christchurch Regatta in a week and a half. Australia up on 66 points, New Zealand on 58. Rockwool, Denmark, Nikolai Sehested's team on 52. And then down the leaderboard where the U.S. has slipped to 7th, but there's a lot of teams right there in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps any number of them could challenge Rockwool, Denmark in the remaining events and get onto the 3rd place. We shall soon see. And the next event is, as we said, not this coming weekend, but the weekend following. In Christchurch, Sail GP's Fast and Furious Racing returns to Christchurch March 23, 24. It's a weekend event. It is Saturday, Sunday. And we shall have a look at that, no doubt. The weekend after next. Greg Normand, if you have not... Yeah, that's it. Bing Bong's made an interesting observation here. He says, the team using actual human skill, meaning that what you heard from the Aussie wing trimmer, you heard, what's his name? I did an America's Cup campaign with him. The wing trimmer for Australia. Help me out, guys and gals. But he said, Kyle Langford, that's it, Kyle, I just came to my old brain. Kyle Langford said that we don't trim, he says, to the numbers. They're using actual human skill and feel. They think they know the boat even better than the others. Interesting point, interesting observation. Yes. Thank you, Bing Bong, for catching that. Greg Normand, if you have not been up close and personal, it's hard to really understand these foilers. It's truly remarkable. Yes, indeed. Greg, who hosts that terrific YouTube sailing podcast, video podcast called Great Lakes Sailing? What's it called? Inside Great Lakes Sailing. Greg Normand, who we're going to have on the show, and I've done an interview for him. I commend it to you. It's on YouTube. Just Google Inside Great Lakes Sailing. He's from Michigan. A Michigander.
Can't be all bad.
Can't be all bad. John Emmett, I feel the top 3 is unlikely to change, but we shall soon see. Yeah, you're probably right, John. It's going to be a reach. Kyle Langford, thank you, John Emmett. Clark Chapin, it seems to me that one of the problems for both Sail GP and AC37 is that without so many computers and so much technology, you can't sail these boats. That's a disconnect with the larger sailing community.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah. Rick Bannerow's comment replying to Emmett is saying gear failure, boat damage, pitch pole is probably the event. Through 996 angles, the sailing is truly mechanical. Well, but as you heard Bing Bong, that is William Sangmeister observed, at least the top team is apparently, if you believe Kyle Langford, is not sailing just to the numbers, but the feel. Like most of us have sailed all our lives, Julia.
I understand that a lot better.
Do you sail by the seat of your pants?
By feel. By feel.
Weekend after next, March 23, 24, next Sail GP in Christchurch. Not in Auckland, but in Christchurch. Okay, Julia, that gets us, thankfully, to Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, to the D block here, and we've got 3 submissions from our Fozy this Tuesday, as we're an hour and almost 35 minutes into today's show. And the first one here, making fun of me. Did we do it?
Captain Kirk.
Spock says to Captain Kirk, and he's looking perplexed, and he said, did we save the daylight? Leonard Nimoy, a.k.a. Mr. Spock, to Captain Kirk. In the original Star Trek, that was pretty campy. It was not as good as what was Second Generation? What was the one after that with who was the great British actor who played the captain?
Oh, yeah.
He was good.
Mm-hmm.
Sweeney says, we sail with Sail GP, I see the speed but miss the magic.
That's a nice thing.
Indeed. Nearly time to go to the pub, Emmett says. By the way, John Emmett is coming on the show, Julia.
Oh, good.
I think it's next Tuesday, the 19th. I think is the date. I put it in my calendar, and I don't want to go to it. But John and I, we were originally trying to get him on today, but he's tied up. And he was doing that sailing as we saw. His report was he did it early this morning. Then he went sailing, and now he's back home, presumably. He's coming on next Tuesday, and we're going to get updated on a lot of things, especially Olympic.
Good.
Sailing. Jean-Luc Picard was the captain of the next generation, Patrick Stewart. Well done. Thank you for that, Emmett and Chapin. And you all making fun of me. Did we save the daylight?
Yes, indeed.
Paul Humchick sent that in. Julia, you like this one? Stop killing ducks to make duct tape. She's got on her sign. I think she probably doesn't have that on her sign. They probably made that up, put it on some sign that had something else on it. She doesn't look particularly smart, but Greg Phillips sent that in. And the punchline really is, well, what does she think about baby oil? Good one, Greg Phillips. Thank you for sending that in. And then finally, because this is the drinking show of the Sailing Habit, stop trying to make everyone happy. You are not tequila. Ed Worley sent that in. Ed's got in the can, we're ready to do on Friday his latest America's Cup trivia question for the FOSI, the America's Cup history trivia question.
Oh, good.
And Alistair has submitted an AAAA, which is also great. And he's also got a picture, I'm not going to spoil it, but he's got a picture of a kid who showed up to class on the day that the kids were asked to show up and dressed as their favorite sports person. And Alistair's got that. The kid was out in Perth, I think, in WA, and it's really cute, really cool. Only probably an Aussie, maybe a Brit, but an Aussie or a Brit. Maybe a French kid, maybe a Kiwi kid. We'll see. Probably not an American kid.
We'll see.
We'll see. Julia, the finish line, and that gets us to your comment.
Yes, this is a wonderful opportunity to like, follow, and share.
It is indeed, and those of you watching in replay, your comments are welcome, even in replay. We do go back and read them, and usually in chronological order, Steve Gruber. Thank you very much indeed. And thanks again to all of you who do support us via Patreon. Become a patron if you're not already, but thanks to you who already are. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated and give us a few bucks a month. A couple of you are giving us $8 a month because that's your online subscription fee to that fabulous magazine, Seahorse magazine, arguably the best yacht racing publication in the world. Leo is in the U.S. coach booth this time in Christchurch, not on the boat, I guess. Yeah. But it's nice to have Leo with that team. He's not doing 49ers, as you know. Gordon Smith, thanks to you. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. And before we get to that, we also want to thank the people who gave us audio, video, and images for today's show. Julia, final thoughts?
Oh, it's always interesting to see how the world keeps opening up.
And closing in some cases.
Yeah.
Some cases and closing. Just a reminder, we are on beloved daylight time. Beloved daylight time.
Yes.
We're keeping this show live at 1300 Pacific daylight time. So we sprang forward an hour, which for at least for the time being is 2000 UTC, 2100 CET, and 0900 in Auckland, and 0700 in Sydney, until you all go off summertime in a few weeks, and then things, and in Europe you go on, and things change yet again. Lock the clocks!
That is good.
Lock the clocks! Thanks, Julia. Thanks, everybody. See you Friday at 1300 Pacific. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, have fun. Ciao.
Indeed.
For now.